Hello, my beautiful Fumi Nation. How are you? How are we? For those of you that are stopping by for the very first time, my name is Fumidesaluvold, and you are so very welcome to this episode. As many of you know, I have been so very passionate about Shanquella Robinson, about what happened to her on that unfortunate day in Mexico when she thought that she was going with her friends to have a wonderful time and to celebrate one of their friends' birthday. She said goodbye to her mother and did not know that that was going to be the last time. I think I have covered about 5, 6, 7 episodes about Shanquella because I have been so passionate, because I really want her to have justice and her family to have justice. Her mother, her father, her sister, the community in Charlotte, for them to have justice. I have met a lot of you through DMs and we have talked about each other's families, but what brought us together was Shanquella. And I have always been honest with you. I have always been steadfast with you, especially when it came to Shanquella, because Shanquella could have been my daughter, because she could have been any one of us. And I have always been very transparent with you and letting you know everything that I know. And so, with a very heavy heart, I'm beginning to feel that this case will become a cold case. That nothing will come of this case. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know if there's something I don't know. But I just came off, and I'm going to play it for you guys, Nancy Grace. And it wasn't so much what Nancy said, it was what her interviewer said. And it all boiled down to Mexico not caring. When I first filmed the first episode about Shanquella, I held reservation about what I'm about to say now. Because I felt, for me, don't jump the gun. That's how I felt. But as many of you know, I come from a place where I understand human nature. I understand it clear as day. Sure as I'm sitting here talking to you, I understand human nature. I understand how we behave. I understand why we behave. And so you can put rules in place. You can put rules in place, but that does not necessarily mean that our conclusions are based on those rules. It's really driven by how we feel. So I'm going to say this, and it's taking me a lot of courage because I don't want to be in trouble. But I'm going to say it. Do you remember when Donald Trump was in office? And Mexicans wanted to cross the border. And he separated children from their mothers. Do you remember? It was horrific. I don't know. I'm not going to say right, wrong, indifferent. I don't know why he did it. I don't know whether it was the right procedure. I don't know if it was because in the day of social media it was highlighted. I don't know if other presidents have done it or America has done this previously with other countries coming over the border. I'm not saying any of that. All I'm saying was that the images came through and we saw children separated from their mothers. I saw it. Now here's the thing. I know it hurt Mexico. You see, countries are neighbors. We have to treat our neighbors very carefully because you never know when you will be in their debt, when you will need them, where they will bypass all of the rules, the regulations, the protocol, and they say, don't worry, we got it. We'll do it right now. And so these are Americans on their turf. And this is what happened. To them, why should we care? You didn't care about us. And let me extend this. What American stood up and said, this is wrong, and stepped in? So why should they step in? I felt that from the very beginning, and I thought to myself, I hope they don't take it to heart. And we are able to find justice for this beautiful chocolate girl who happens to be an American, who happens to be a woman, who happens to have come to a villa under the guise of a party. I said it in the first video and I'll say it again. This Cabo 6 knew what they were doing. It was premeditated, and they made sure they did this out of the country. That was their saving grace. Because as much as we have the video and it shows everything, as you're going to learn, or as you're going to hear, they cannot be touched. I've shed my tears. And I pray for a miracle. But I wanted to let you know I will no longer be talking about Shanquella. I'll put her pictures up here and there. I'll mention her in videos here and there. But I won't do an exclusive about her until there is justice. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I should continue. When you watch the video, you tell me. But I don't know. And it's not looking good. Yeah. Watch the video.
Does the name Shanquella Robinson mean anything to you? Because it means a lot to me. This beautiful young girl with her life ahead of her goes on a girls' weekend with some friends, and she never makes it back home alive. A very disturbing video is released of Shanquella in her, listen, these, I'm calling them girls, they're all, I think, in their early 20s. Shanquella was 25 at the time of her death. So all of the girls, young ladies, go to a Mexican resort, and it's a 5-star, it's a beautiful resort. But then stunning video emerges of her so-called friends wake her. Shanquella's mother and I both believe, because she sleeps without her clothes on, that she was woken up by the friend girls and some guy that was a friend as well, not a lover, a friend. Somebody was videoing all this. They get her out of bed, she's buck naked, and they start a fight with her. I can hardly stand to look at the fight, because in the fight where they're beating her, one woman in particular, her head goes sideways. Shanquella dies because of that injury. I've got her death certificate right here. And joining me right now is Irv Brandt, Senior Inspector. This is why I have Irv on with me today. He's an expert, U.S. Marshal Service International Investigations, Chief Inspector, DOJ Office of International Affairs. He's been a country attaché for the U.S. Embassy, and author of Solo Shot, Curse of the Blue Stone. It's on Amazon now. Also author of Flying Solo, Top of the World. So, Irv, let me bring everybody up to date quickly. The reason that she died was because of basically her neck getting broken. Oh gosh, what do you call, Jackie? Along the lumbar spine, twisted, and her head basically is no longer attached to the rest of her spine. It's kind of like an internal decapitation, where your head is no longer attached to your spine because of one of the blows. And Irv, you and I have looked at the video. It just makes me sick to look at it. So the girls, the friends that do this to her, and the the grown man, they all rush back to the States. Irv Brandt, why have they not been arrested and extradited back to Mexico?
Okay, Nancy, I'm going to lay it out for you. This is speculation on my part, but it's speculation based on many years of experience with international extraditions. First of all, to extradite a crime within the treaty from one country to another, there has to be a common crime covered under the treaty. My understanding,
you don't think murder would rise to that, Irv Brandt? I mean,
well,
listen, I like you a lot, but I don't like anything you're saying.
Yeah, I understand that. It's complicated, Nancy. Give me a minute and I'll explain it to you.
Yeah, dumb me down for me, because I'm just not that smart, Irv Brandt.
Yeah, right. I'm talking to a lawyer. You're going to cut me to pieces.
I've seen a lot of ding-dong lawyers. They're not all smart, trust me.
What they charged was, help me out with the exact verbiage of the crime.
An arrest warrant has been issued and extradition proceedings have begun in Mexico for the murder of 25-year-old Shanquella Robinson.
It was
a homicide.
No. But the exact title, the exact charge out of Mexico was like,
it's got to be voluntary manslaughter. Oh, femicide.
When a femicide.
Yes.
This is my point. This is what I'm getting to. Under the treaty, there's a list of crimes. You can't generalize. It has to be specific. You can't generalize this. Say, oh, well, femicide is murder. No. It's what the crime is charged. If that crime is not charged under the treaty, what Mexico has to do is reindict that charge and charge them with something that can be extradited under the treaty, like, let's say, murder. Now, I'm not saying that that's what happened. I'm saying I'm giving you a possibility, and I'm giving you likely possibilities, because over my years of experience in this, we go through this little song and dance all the time, especially when it came to capital crimes, murder crimes, sex crimes, drug crimes, money laundering crimes. Lots of countries don't have similar, just the titles of them, and it has to be worked out, and sometimes that takes time.
Hey, listen, you might be onto something, Irv, and I want to remind you, Jack, remind me to circle back with him on this. I posed to you the other day, we were off air, what the HELL is going on with Shanquella's case. Why hasn't anything been done? The women all changed their cell phone numbers. They cut off their cell phones. They moved from their apartments. Nobody can find them, head nor tail of them. As far as I know, that's never stopped a bounty hunter from finding the person. But the killing of Shanquella is being investigated as a, quote, femicide. That is an unfamiliar term for many of us in the U.S. It is a gender-motivated crime, and it has not been defined by the U.S. legislators as a global issue. that's feeding into what you're saying. Now, prosecutors in Mexico are trying to extradite one of Robinson's friends. I think they should get all of them, by the way. Have you seen this video, Irv? They're all like a pack of jackals yelping and baying.
If it would have been done in the U.S., you know, and I know, all of them.
Oh, heck yeah. All of them, including the one, the videographer, so to speak. Right. Oh, H-E-double-L, yes. Now, they're trying to extradite one friend as a suspect, and the Attorney General for Baja California Sur told media that an arrest warrant was issued for the crime of femicide, the killing of a woman because of her gender. But you told me, off air, Irv Brandt, I was telling you this whole scenario, how angry I was, nothing had been done. I talked to Shanquella's mother and her sister. They're grieving and they're mourning and they're angry all at the same time. I told you about it and you said, I've done 1 million of these. I guarantee you it's Mexico. It ain't us.
100%.
Explain why you said that, because I hadn't thought of it that way. I have been 3 inches up these people's tailpipes where these women, we think, are hiding. 3 inches, calling, emailing. Why aren't you making an arrest? Why aren't you doing extradition? And when you said that, it all crystallized. It's not us. I'm betting it's not us. I agree with you. It's Mexico. When do we ever get a darn thing out of Mexico? Nothing.
Nancy, this goes on all over the world. And let me tell you, I spent years at International, in the Office of International Affairs, and Interpol.
It sounds terrible.
And I would travel halfway around the world. I would fly to Manila, or I'd fly to Bangkok, or wherever, for a single meeting, because OIA would send me. And they would tell me, Irv, we think you're the only one that can do it. We need you to go to Manila. We need you to talk with the Minister of Justice and ask them to get the paperwork in order for the extradition. Mm-hmm. We're waiting on this, just like we're waiting on this case. And I'd fly to the other side of the world and go and talk to the minister, who called me by my first name and had for years. And we would sit down and discuss the case. And just like this case, it would be 2 Americans who are no longer in the country, and they have issued a warrant, so they consider the case closed. They're not interested in extraditing.
Okay, wait, hold on. I'm trying to take in what you're saying. So basically, once Mexico issues the arrest warrant, they're like, hey, it's on the U.S.
Closed.
Now listen to this, or I think that you're going to end up turning out to be right. Unlike Mexico and other Latin American countries, the U.S. does not have a law recognizing femicide as any different from homicide. And that doesn't mean that the killings are not deemed a homicide. But in the paperwork application, Mexico needs to charge it not as femicide, but as murder, straight out murder, so we can get... Right. I guarantee you it's Mexico. I do not believe that authorities here would let this go unavenged. I just don't believe it.
No, Nancy, I'm telling you, I used to do this for a living. The Mexican, it's Americans involved. If it was an American killing a Mexican, there would be a lot of pressure on, they'd be doing whatever. They'd re-indict the case, however it was, to bring that person back down to have a trial. These are Americans, and they're gone. And they have issued a warrant. They haven't issued a red notice. They have issued the warrant.
What's a red notice? So basically, tell me, what is a red notice?
It's an international lookout. Let's say these people traveled to another country, left the United States and traveled to another country. And those people could be detained until Mexico. Let's say they went to Jamaica because they know they're wanted for murder in Mexico. And they went to Jamaica and they had red notices. The Jamaicans would detain them until the Mexicans government could bring them over. But since they're Americans, they just I mean, there's no pressure. There's no public outrage. It's
You
not
mean no
high
public
on their
outrage in
priority.
Mexico?
Correct.
So
Correct.
they don't care.
So,
the only one that cares,
well,
basically,
I'm not
is
saying they don't
Shanquella's family.
care.
Yes, you are.
It's just not a high priority. And what I
That's
would do
the same thing.
Yes.
You've got
what I
a
would do
beautiful
on behalf
dead
of
girl
OIA,
whose mother is
Yeah.
crying, whose sister is crying. They're in Huntersville, North Carolina, and I find it very hard to believe that North Carolina authorities are not trying to find these people. But the issue, you believe, is the extradition papers from Mexico?
Yes, I'm willing to bet on it. Because I would go and have meetings and explain to them the importance, how important it was to the United States. And I basically make a deal. If you submit the paperwork, we'll pay all the costs. We'll pay all the costs of the extraditions to come down. Many times when they'd agree, they'd look at me and say, "You owe me now." Okay, I owe you. Understood. I mean, that's how it would work. And I did that all over the world.
So, Irv Brandt joining me, this is your expertise. What can we do to get justice for Shanquella? I mean, I don't know what we can do.
I am confident. Well, it's the pressure, Nancy. It's just the pressure of you keeping it on the front burner. I'm confident that the Office of International Affairs is contacting them continuously, trying to get, the package, for them to get the package done so these people,
What package? What are you saying?
It's what the Mexican government has to submit to the Office of International Affairs. All their documents, all the probable cause, the video, things like this, all the legal documents for OIA to assign it to an AUSA to, work it up
An
for
assistant
an extradition
U.S.
warrant.
attorney. I mean, even the governor in North Carolina has weighed in. It's Governor Roy Cooper said his thoughts are with the family of a Charlotte woman who died in October on vacation. And where she was on vacation is a hop, jump, and a skip down from all the stars and the celebrities go to at Cabo. I always see Jennifer Aniston out there eating chips by the water in Cabo. It's beautiful. That's where they were. He says he's, quote, hopeful the FBI will solve the case of her mysterious death. It's not a mystery, Governor. Just look at the video. We've shown it several times. It makes me sick to look at it. Not knowing what really happened, well, that's a great concern. We know what happened. We all know what happened. Investigators in Mexico say an arrest warrant has been issued, but no suspect named. No one has been apprehended. And this was very recently. So what is the holdup? So, Irv, can you give it to me in a bullet? Hit me. What can we do? What can be done? I mean, the governor, God bless him, is saying, gee, I hope it all turns out okay. We need a little bit more than well wishes, Irv Brandt.
Short version.
Yes.
The United States cannot arrest on a foreign government's arrest warrant. The United States can only arrest on an extradition warrant issued out of U.S. District Court. And the only way for that to happen is the Mexican government has to submit an extradition request to the Department of Justice Office of International Affairs. Until they do that,
you just said the U.S. government has to do it. I thought the Mexican government would do it.
No. The Mexican government must submit an extradition request to the Department of Justice Office of International Affairs so an extradition warrant can be issued out of U.S. District Court.
Okay.
Until the Mexican government does that, the U.S. cannot do anything about it.
And it's got to be on a charge that we will extradite
on. It's covered under the treaty.
We're not obviously not recognizing Femicide, it doesn't come under the treaty, so it's got to be homicide. The U.S. State Department number, if you want your voice to be heard, is 888-407-4747. Repeat, 888-407-4747. We want justice for Shanquella.
And so here we are. Let's continue to hold Shanquella's mother and father and sister in prayer, her extended family in prayer, and let us hope for the best, hope for a miracle, hope for something turn around. Somebody's heart will say, okay, let's do this. Let's make this right. Not because of what's happened and what's been done to us, because it's the right thing to do. But I am really learning how politics can trickle down and affect us. That's why you've got to vote right. You've got to vote. I truly feel this way. You guys let me know in the comments if you feel the same way too. It's a bit scary to say, but that's how I feel. I believe that's why they don't care about this. They want it to hurt us the way it hurt them, to see their mothers, to see their sisters, children being ripped out of their arms, and they couldn't do anything about it. And I'm going to add to that. When I was living in California, I had lots of Mexican friends, and I was poor. And if I needed, somebody to help me move a fridge or whatever, it was always them. And it's so sad that they were looked upon a certain way because they were Mexicans. They were some of the most decent people I've ever met. The most wonderful, the funniest. Their music, their food, their hair, their skin, their culture. Love it. We went to Mexico. We had a wonderful time with baby Adrian. So, you see, for me, I come from a place of humility. Always stay humble. Always stay humble. Always be grateful. Always show kindness and empathy and love. If you show love to people around you, you are always surrounded by love. I don't know what else to say. All of my love, my darlings. Like, subscribe, share, hit the notification button, and let's get this conversation going. You let me know. You let me know. It's out of my hands. Not that it ever was, but there was maybe some arrogance inside of me that thought I could make a difference. It's bigger than me. Way, way, way bigger.